So, Curious Bible Girl here. So, last time I read this book, I read um, the first page of this book the first page of this book asks if wives have become an endangered species. And to be honest with you, I really think I really believe wives have become an endangered species, along with mothers being mothers. Like the job descriptions have really changed because we're giving the jobs to titles that we don't find in the Bible. Husband is in the Bible, boyfriend is not. Girlfriend is not in the Bible, wife is. So this is why everything is getting lost because we're giving these positions to people that are not meant to be our husbands, not meant to be our wives, but because we are doing things outside of the will of God, right? We are with people that we don't need to be with. We are angry with people that we don't need to be angry with because they're not our spouses. They're not our real spouses, but because you don't understand that a girlfriend and a boyfriend don't have job descriptions, you are depending on these people to fulfill jobs that they don't have the requirements for, which is being a boyfriend, girlfriend, right? And the reason why God wanted a lot of us to not have these things is because we needed to learn how to develop a relationship with God. We needed to have that in the mix. If you're in a relationship with a boyfriend for 13 years, there's no God in the mix. There's no God anywhere. But anyways, let me start reading this book. Let me read the introduction. For most of human history, such a letter could not have been written. Not only were most women unable to write, but most had little say in the choice of their husbands. If they had sexual relations outside of marriage, and especially if they had a child out of wedlock, they would have been disgraced and even crucified in some societies. In early Puritan America, those judged guilty of fornication, sexual acts between persons not married to each other, were usually fined and publicly whipped. The stigma surrounding the unwed mother was so severe that she did everything possible, including infanticide. She killed, murdered a baby, right? To keep the newborn hidden. In a single mother, if a single mother could not bear the thought of being parted from her baby, the only acceptable response was to find a husband. Today, a single mother no longer faces the public censure of the past. What does that word mean, censure? You'll learn some vocabulary too. Right? So, as you can see, back in the days, it was very, very, very important when it came to marriage. Marriage was a very important thing. So, censure means, where did I see that word? Censure means express severe disapproval of, especially in a formal statement. Okay? So today, a single mother no longer faces the public censure, disapproval of the past. She can, like the mother in this letter, reject the offer of a man eager to marry her. It is not enough in the Bible. If a man came to marry you, that was it. That was it, right? That was a done deal. Okay. It's not enough for him to love her, accept a child who is not his own, work two jobs to support them, and do the laundry, dishes, and cleaning. So it's like, what more does she want? Right? The author of the letter is holding out for something more. She wants to find a man she can love. And in this decision, she is supported by the popular moral arbiter Abigail Van Buren. You know the lady, the Dear Abby letters, her. Do you believe that Dear Abby gave the woman good advice? Should the woman leave a man who has taken on the roles of partner, provider, and de facto father? Is Abby correct in believing that reciprocal romantic love is the only basis for a lasting marriage? You know, what else? What else keeps relationships together in these day and age? Money is not going to allow a relationship to last very long. You know, one person eventually is going to start feeling unfulfilled in that relationship. Um, children, we know we're not trying to keep children in households where the parents are not happy. I grew up in a household where my parents weren't happy. And I've seen some things where I'm just like, these are not happy people. You know, so you don't want to scar children even further because you don't have a grips on what your role is in your relationship. Okay? So I feel like love is an important thing in a relationship. I'm going to read what scripture says about love in the Bible. It's in Corinthians, right? Okay. So 1 Corinthians 13, 6. I'm sorry, 1 Corinthians 13:4 says, love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, it is not easily angered, it keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always preserves. Right? So I always say to myself, like, if I'm going to get into a relationship with somebody, I'm always going to be honest. Does that mean that I'm here to, you know, hurt their feelings or anything like that? No, that's never going to be my objective. It's because I love them enough to say what I need to say so that something can get fixed. Right? A lot of times we look at love as, oh, he buys me this and he buys me that. No, love is rough moments. Love is going through time periods together when it's rough. Love is respecting somebody. Love is letting go of somebody when you see it's not a good fit. You know, and that's exactly what the lady was talking about in the beginning in the Dear Abby letter. She's like, he does all of these great things, but I'm not in love with him, right? And this is what a lot of relationships are based on now, but still it doesn't seem to be working because people be like, I'm in love, and then 2 years later, they're not in love anymore. So that means they weren't always standing on the foundation of what love was. They just like the glitz and glamour of being with somebody, but when true trials and tribulations start beginning, where does that person leave you? Where does that person stay by your side? Do they go? Do they really show that they love you by being by your side, or do they leave and skedaddle? You know what I'm saying? So there's so many variations of relationships now, like the normalcy and stuff like that. Normalcy to me is just being authentic in your relationship. If I can be authentic with you, then it's normal enough that we can make it because I feel natural with you. I feel honored with you. I feel at peace with you. But if I don't feel at peace with you, I have to be honest with myself and let you go. Right? So, is Abby correct in believing that reciprocal romantic love is the only basis for a lasting marriage? This letter tells us a great deal about women's attitude towards marriage at the present moment. It tells us that the single mother, no longer forced to wed, wants to be able to marry in the name of love, that intoxicating mix of sex and sentiment that most adults have experienced and no one can define. Once upon a time, women married for other reasons, such as economic support, to cement family alliances, to have children, to counter loneliness, to be like all the other women. Once upon a time, women wore the title wife like a badge of honor, to be a person's wife, a baker's wife, a doctor's wife, told the world loudly and clearly that one had fulfilled one's natural destiny. It was your destiny. If you were a woman, it was a destined thing for you to become a wife. That all roads led to being a wife, right? All roads led to being a wife. But what about the desolate woman, right? The desolate woman is women out there that don't become married, which is, I'm going to talk about that in a second. But there's the married woman and there's the desolate woman, and I'm gonna find some information about the desolate woman in a minute. But yeah, like, the woman's role, it was the woman's destiny, it was the woman's path to become a wife. I know in most countries like India and Africa and when are you gonna find a husband? When are you gonna find a husband? And as a woman, if I were asked that question, 2025, when am I gonna find a husband? That's a very hard question to answer, because it's not like I'm supposed to be finding him. I'm not supposed to be finding him. You understand what I'm saying? The husband is supposed to be finding me. You feel me? And too often we get exhausted. Women get exhausted looking for a man that's supposed to be finding her. It's not the other way around. In the Bible, women did not go to find men. The men came to her. Look at Isaac to Rachel. Or Rebecca, I think her name was. He found her. He went to her. No, she came to him. She came to him. She was found for him, right? She didn't go and find him. She was found for him, right? So why are we so stressed out? Why are we so pulled down? Why are we so ridiculed for not being married? Is because sometimes the men just ain't men in the way that they're supposed to be. I tell people that all the time. Don't talk to me and tell me, oh, why you don't have children? Why are you not married? Like, let's look at the pool out there. Like, the pool is contaminated. There's a lot of broken hearts. There's a lot of messed up hearts. There's a lot of evil hearts. There's a lot of evil minds out there. And you have to be careful. You have to be careful when you're dealing with men nowadays. You know what I mean? Back then, because the men were probably coming with the pure intentions of understanding that a marriage is to create lineage, create foundation, generations, and all that type of stuff. But now, men are so pulled away from the idea of being providers. It's like, it doesn't even make sense to want to get married now, because it's like a lot of times you're going to be worse off than actually better with a husband, right? Until you find that one man that understands. Until you find a husband like Ephesians 5:25, right? Until he understands that, then we can move forward, right? So how long have I been on the camera? 14 minutes, 15 minutes, all right? So women used to wear marriage like a badge of honor. What happened? I'll be back to continue reading my book, A History of a Wife, as we dive deep to find out what transpired for women to change the trajectory of marriage now. So be back later. Peace.